Do we want to just get started?
I think so. I mean, I don't see.
I don't see any of them.
Yeah,
A long week, so.
I know. Should I send in maybe another like follow-up email, or do we just?
Sure. I mean, you can just let them know that we're on if they want to join us, but we're just going to go ahead and get started. And I mean, they probably, I would think, I'll feel pretty well prepared, I hope. But we can talk about that. Who can speak for educators today? Because we don't have Fran or Kelly.
I can sort of share the work group update that Kelly's planning, like that she sort of is going to send out, but I don't know too much about like their actual, any other concrete.
Why don't we get started? I figured I sort of hoped, because I know we've had a lot of different types of meetings this week and seem to be on the right track, that maybe we'd be kind of quick this morning. So, all right. Do you want to walk us through some of these contacts and maybe we can look at the PowerPoint a little bit, Haley? Okay.
Sure. I'm just going to quickly send that email to remind people.
Okay, no worries.
Okay. So in terms of the meeting on the 13th, I sent a follow-up email to Jim Simmons from DOE, just making sure if he needs anything and if he's sort of clear on what he's doing. He seemed fine. Tizzy, I'm pretty sure I copied you on that.
Yeah.
And then I also followed up with Monique because I feel like we talked about a lot of things and it was like we needed some sort of like, this is what we would hope that you present on. And she just emailed me back this morning and she seemed good and clear and is going to send me over some PowerPoint slides that I'm going to put in our presentation.
So she feels ready. We don't need to like do a part 2 cover. I mean, I felt like we covered a lot and she seemed obviously very with it, and all the feedback I've got from people who've worked with her is that she knows how to take all these crazy thoughts and like put it where it needs to be. So she seems ready.
Yes, let's see. I read her email very quickly, but I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I'm happy to hop on another call if we need to, and I'm sure we'll check in about it on the way to Thursday. But and did you get the draft, the revision I sent and sort of the pre-meeting note? We kind of shortened it and added some more sort of disclaiming language, I guess I would say, just so people, I want to make sure people feel comfortable if they're not going to get put on blast and that anything that they self-assess is not going to be shared.
Yep. I put all your edits in and I resent it out to everyone. And do you think that email should come from you and Matt?
Yeah, I think that's great.
Oh, I see Namdi join and Noel. Okay, great.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
What else was I going to say about that? Oh, and then Matt and I think, I forget how much time did we allow for the timeline conversation? 10 minutes or 5?
I forget, but
Matt and I are each going to take a half of what that is.
Okay.
And just speak not only to the timeline, but I think just sort of try to do our best at sort of stating our vision for, the end of this year, for the work ahead, and hopefully get people excited about accomplishing some deliverable items. So we're going to split that task because I think we just both communicate it differently. I think that's helpful.
That sounds good. And then I started to make a PowerPoint, and I just thought it'd be helpful if we all wanted to just quickly go through it. If people had input or feedback.
You want to pop it up or do you want us all to look at it individually?
I can share it. Let me see. So it's just general. Meeting norms, that same slide.
Yep.
This would be for roll call, meeting minutes, which I have to check back, and I'm sure they're probably done from the one in May, but I have to find them, and probably we need to send those around too before. Lots of things to send before.
Yeah, I know. A stack.
I know. And then this is what you were sort of talking about. I just briefly put the
Yeah.
this in here. It's not, worded well yet, but
Will we have chosen it?
By then, I think so. I sent out the doodle poll, so I can remind people to fill that out again. We have like 10 or so responses now.
So maybe we will have had the majority by Thursday, and we'll know the dates. That would probably be ideal.
Mm-hmm.
But if not, we don't.
Yeah, right now it seemed like both dates worked for most people, so I think we can figure it out. And then, is there anything else that you would want on the timeline update slide, or is that pretty much like the October meeting, the December meeting, and the revisiting the redistricting stuff?
I guess maybe since we're revisiting the redistricting timeline, but I think just talking about, unless that's the next slide, sort of the overall, sort of the overall consortium timeline, I guess, sort of our goals in the next, 5 months, 4 months. I don't know if we need to sort of spell that out, revisit redistricting timeline, but also, consortium goals for the remainder of 2020, something like that.
Okay.
Just to make sure that we get to touch on that and people are hearing that it's a separate sort of topic.
Okay, that makes sense. I see there's someone in the chat.
Oh, hi, Fran, you are here. Hi.
Do you want to include the definition of equity and mission or charges of the consortium towards the beginning?
I think that can't hurt because I just think it's good. I mean, it doesn't even need to be like fully spoken to. Maybe that's even a good thing, the placeholder rather than the at first. I think it's just good for people to see it, even if we're just breezing past it. Thanks, Fran.
And maybe I can pop in that decision-making model slide too for the same thing. It's sort of, people keep seeing it, but it's just good to have it there.
Yeah, and I think the simplified version feels a little fresher now too, and so I think that'll just be good for people to see. I wonder if they wouldn't fit on the same slide and still be readable, would they?
I don't think so. I can try, but I don't think so. Well,
we can definitely make graphics of those to put on our public pages though too. I think they would.
And the sort of updated decision-making model one, I did save it as like a PNG, so it is like a graphic right now.
Yeah, I have my comms team drafting a post to encourage people to engage with Reading, and so it would be nice to, if you have those and can send them to me, or I can capture the images myself. I definitely want to put them out on Facebook, just my own book.
Yeah, I have not been good at doing any Facebook stuff.
Okay.
On our Facebook, but
it takes a lot of capacity to maintain social media, which I know
it really does.
A while, and I wish, I hope we can figure that out because I do think it's important. It's just a lot.
Yeah, and you don't want to put anything out irresponsibly. That's my thing. It's like if I don't have time to do it or think about it, I'm not gonna. That's just not worth it.
So if anyone else on the call has ideas about our communications capacity, that remains something that we need to handle.
So the next slide is educator. This would just be all the work group updates. I put educator funding social determinants.
But you're just going to put them all in one?
I don't know. I was sort of wondering what people wanted. Like, are the co-chairs, like, do they want their own slide and like any bullet points to talk off of? Or I can just put them all in one. It doesn't matter. Whatever sort of people are thinking.
Anyone have any strong feelings on that from the co-chairs?
I think we need our own time to talk, and it might be easier for people watching visually if it has its own slide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then maybe we can just do a little pull highlights or something on each one.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
I see in the chat, Tika wrote, add a student possibly to the work group. Maybe they could help with that role.
Yeah, I know something we've talked about before is whether or not that was something like our university students, might be able to do. Again, I mean, I think Haley's point that you have to be really careful about what goes up, that can be a little touchy, but I think if we have the right student, that could be great too. But we also have to make sure that, we're able to support and manage that person as well.
Mm-hmm.
So possible. We'll have to see what kind of students end up with us this year.
Mm-hmm.
But whether it was a high school student or I think you're saying high school student, Tika, right? I was thinking more college student, but even then, the micromanaging part of me gets panicky.
I was thinking maybe someone from some of the councils that like Daniel has put together.
Yeah. But even so, they're still high school students. I don't know. They're great on social media, but I don't know. I think it's worth discussing.
Well, I would assume that it would still need final approval before posting, but at least it, that's kind of their
like design and content ideas.
Exactly.
They could generate. I think that's a good idea. See if they could generate content that we could then use.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but then the capacity of sort of posting and proposing still kind of falls to us. So I think that's still a capacity area that we.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I like that idea though of having them help us come up with messaging, or parents too, to be honest. As we do outreach, I think that's something to keep in mind as we start engaging with more folks in our work groups.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. So we've got those slides, highlight slides. A stretch break, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love how it's like, this is your opportunity to run away. That's what that fun.
Well, you still can. No.
Cool.
And then we have I just put a slide for Jim because he said that he has his own slides that he's sort of going to talk from, but he didn't need to sort of send me any to put in the PowerPoint.
Okay. Cool.
Do you think people need more context in this, or this is fine and Jim will just speak to things?
I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, I'm expecting he'll then toggle over to his set of slides, right?
I don't know exactly what he's picturing. Because if I'm sharing my screen, I guess I can give him the ability to do that too, and he can share his.
Yeah, he might need to send you those slides at some point there, so you can pop them in, so that
Yeah,
we don't have a technical disaster.
Yeah, or I don't know if he was planning on actually like reading off of slides, or if he was just planning on speaking and like having his own like talking points, not slides.
Okay, I get it.
I don't know, but it'll be fine.
Yeah.
This reminds me of something that we don't have to talk to right now, but we can get back to it. But I was thinking we do have the ability to live stream our meetings on Facebook. We haven't been doing that with the work group meetings, but I was wondering if it's something that we're interested in doing for this meeting.
We did do it with our last full consortium meeting, right?
I think so.
I'm not sure how much engagement we got, but I think it's good. I think it's good to sort of have the access, have the record just available there. I do. And does anyone else feel differently about exposing that? I mean, I think it's good. I think it's also a more accessible way for people to kind of revisit the meeting than however we would share a Zoom recording.
Mm-hmm. We could always post the Zoom recording after the meeting too on the website.
So like to Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have an issue with it. Sorry, go ahead, Tika.
No worries. This is the 13th, correct? That we're speaking about? So we might too want to then also put some type of footnote or really highlight that the conversation with Monique is just a very like the initial opening, because if we're sharing it through for everybody in the public to see, it may open up to some people criticizing that conversation should have had more time devoted to it. So I think really being upfront with why we acknowledge that, why we structured it the way that it is.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be questions no matter how you approach it, and criticisms. I think that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we can get very clear, and she can hopefully enforce that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Noelle, did you want to speak to that? Let's see. Increased visibility, show people we're working, people would engage in.
Say, like, I think there's a specific reason to use Facebook Live, and that people would probably engage with it and watch it in real time more. And I would use the chat function if that was enabled to comment on it. So if we wanted to show people what we're doing and that we're working, I think more people are likely to watch it than to go back and watch the Zoom recording. However, with our upcoming meeting, we might not want to do that with that one, because we don't know how people are going to engage with that. And really, we want that to be focused inwardly, right, on the people in the group. But just an idea for the future. I think that's the purpose of doing Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on that? We're sort of split on. I mean, I'm okay with it either way. So, I mean, if we have some feelings that we would like to let the meeting happen without people feeling that extra exposure, and then we can put it up later. I'm okay with erring on the side of caution as well, but I'm honestly kind of agnostic. Anyone else have a strong feeling?
I think maybe creating a little bit more of a safe space, even though it's still a publicly recorded meeting. Maybe not Facebook Live for this one.
Okay.
Just
so people don't see that, streaming live button or whatever I think pops up. Okay, I'm all right with that.
And then this is just an opening slide for Monique, and she said she's going to send me over slides that I can integrate in. And then this one was just sort of a slide dedicated to sort of how we can continue this conversation, because that just seemed very important to Monique, and I don't think we should like not address it.
Yeah. I think, I would say I would just phrase it as focused retreat, because I know she's going to be talking about a lot of terms, and we already sort of speak about equity broadly, and I think that'll come up. I think more specific aspects of it will come up. So I might just say focused retreat, just keep it sort of broad.
Okay.
Hey, Tizzy?
Yes.
I mean, on that slide, I know we've talked about this before, but there are these issues about whether retreats are public or not, and
right.
I just extent that we can avoid having that conversation publicly before we even know for sure what we think the answer is. I think that's probably helpful.
Can you say more about what you mean? You mean not bring even up the idea of a retreat, or?
Yeah, because someone's going to ask, and I think that the answer is that we can't meet as a group even at a retreat without it being public, but I don't know that. And,
not in a large group. It would probably have to be very small groups, right? Is that
and there's even rules about how you have to do that. So I just I think it's fine to sort of say we're going to talk about whether we should do a retreat or something like that, but I would just be hesitant to have a conversation about it, because somebody's going to want to know the answer to that, and I just don't think we know what the answer is.
Okay. So what would be an alternative for this slide in terms of?
Maybe putting the slide up, but not dwelling on it.
Okay. Sounds good.
We talked about emailing Connor or the AG's office too. I can do that and ask him. Maybe we can figure out the legal answer before, and then we can.
Yeah, so I just phrased this focused retreat. I think I actually just had a long conversation with Dawn Alexander just before hopping on this call, and we were talking about some of the stuff. She was interested in you know, Monique potentially sort of making it clear that, I guess, that there are resources, I think, for the consortium, but also for folks who might be listening in, you know, what those resources might be. I don't know if that's another block there, but resources for, maybe it's other resources, maybe, you know, just that we want folks to be aware of that we might utilize, but that if they decide that they want to independently pursue with her, that she can kind of leave that general invitation open as well. Because I know that she does, I'm sure, would be willing to consult with districts directly as well as with us.
Yeah, I think for the purposes of the meeting, it's probably fine for either the presenter or somebody to say, we realize that people would like to be able to do this in some cases in a way that's not public, and we're trying to figure out, you know, how we can do that, and just sort of, you know, acknowledge it and say that we're looking at it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's sort of that sort of twofold thing. It's like, how do we as a consortium continue this? And then there's also, how can you continue to access Monique's expertise for folks that might want to do that externally? I don't know the best way to present that on a slide.
Well, I think I should see what she sends me, because she might have a slide that covers that already. Like, if you want to contact me, do it this way, or if, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
and then public comment.
Okay. Oh, wow. Cool. Fast.
Well, I think we don't have Monique's slides in there yet, and sort of Jim's either.
Yeah, we're not belaboring it with too much of our own. Well, I guess we'll have a lot from our committees, but okay. So should we move into that?
Sure.
And did you email this to us also for feedback?
No, I can. I just didn't get to it. But I'll send it around.
Cool. All right. We can go back to the agenda. Okay, cool. So it sounds like we have maybe a little less than half the people have responded to the doodle poll.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So maybe it'd be great if we could wrap that up by next meeting so we could give a date, but if not, we'll survive. Wow, 2 work group updates.
Oh, whoops.
Like, what happened?
We have 6 work groups.
Very good. Woo, shorten that agenda.
Sorry.
All right, cool. And we were saying before everyone was on, we were expecting these probably would be shortish, but let's see. So we've got Fran and Noelle from Educators. Anything you want us to know? Feeling ready for next week?
No, do you want to take it? You want me to take it?
Yeah, we have been talking about engaging more stakeholders, and so we sent out to everybody questions, and each person took a couple different people that they could engage, different stakeholders, so that they could come back to the next meeting with more feedback about their recommendations. And then we also just sent out the recommendations for everyone to review to make sure that they are clear on that, because it's been some time that's passed. Because in the last meeting, there were a lot of questions that the answers were really in the recommendations. So we just wanted people to take a little more time to make sure they're familiar with that. And yeah, we're looking at moving forward by just being able to tweak those, think about how they would be applied. Maybe not so much tweak them, I realize that's not really the right word, but think about fleshing out how they would be applied and the details of the plan based on that stakeholder engagement. That's our task for the next meeting.
Great. And I know, yeah, you guys have been looking at more stakeholders and maybe even additional members. Dawn, I'm going to put Dawn Alexander in touch with you, Noelle. I don't know if you guys know each other, but she wasn't sure. And so she has a lot of ideas and thoughts. She's very dynamic leader in the early childhood field and lots of fields in education. So I'm going to connect you guys.
No,
She's a member of the Social Determinants Committee. Go ahead,
do you foresee the modifications that you guys are making being related to the pandemic, or thinking about how that might affect, our teacher retention and shortages as well?
Yeah, and I guess we're not necessarily looking at modifying the recommendations. That's not like the first goal. I understand that it's a little more complicated because we'd have to probably go back and get approval again. Is that right, Tizzy?
Yes.
So,
well, yeah.
Yeah, so we're not necessarily modifying the recommendations, but we're looking at how they would play out, right? And so, yes, in the context of the pandemic, we're discussing, like, for example, I think Ray brought up last time, because of the extreme hardship from COVID in communities of color, that affects teacher retention and teacher recruitment of teachers of color. And we just have to think about how those things play out. So yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Good. Cool. Anyone have any questions, other questions for the educator work group? Okay. All right, so funding met yesterday. Haley, I see Namdi's on here. Would you like to sort of give us a little update? I think a lot of us were probably on there, but.
Are you asking me for an update or Namdi?
Yeah, or either of you. Oh, Namdi unmuted too, so whichever of you'd like to speak to it.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I thought the meeting went well. I mean, just in an issue, I felt it was a good, I guess, reorganizational meeting for the funding group, especially having the CFOs there to begin this conversation with them. I think some of the feedback, especially from Aaron Bass, was good, as well as a couple of the comments from the CFOs. But overall, I think it was a good step in the right direction. I think it showed why we're pivoting, and I think it also helps us to broaden that base of support. And I think it's a good start. I really do. I feel good in my heart that this can help us get to where we want to be.
Any other thoughts from those that were there? And we got done in like half the allotted time, which was impressive. I mean, sometimes the silence is uncomfortable, and but people had questions, productive questions, and then I think, but it wasn't that uncomfortable type of silence. It was sort of like people are like, okay, there was a very organized work plan, and people seemed to just be up for it.
Yeah, I think everyone knows it's a big lift, no matter how you approach funding. Rather, it's something as seemingly as simple as the referendum legislation. It's always something, it's bigger than it always appears when dealing with funding, and there's so many outside indicators and just other things involved with it. So I think everyone's just expecting that and realizing that it's work that truly needs to be done, and hopefully we can keep our district partners aligned with us, and we do this together.
Good. Cool. And so that the slide deck to go with that will go out early next week for the full consortium.
The update, you mean? Yeah. It might be sort of mirrored off Kelly. I don't think it's going to be a slide. Probably just like a
memo.
Recap and memo.
Got it. Cool.
And I'll have to get with Eugene, because that's the same day the city is doing that African American flag raising ceremony, and my brother and I, as poet laureates, are part of that program. So I'll get with Eugene about the update that evening.
I just saw that email and I was like, ugh, that means Namdi won't be there and the mayor won't be there, but that's okay. It's a great cause. It means I
Yeah.
also won't be at the flag raising, which is a bummer, but yeah, I did see that. Okay. All right. Social determinants happened last week, has had some update meetings. Jason, did you want to speak to it, or Matt?
If Jason's on, he can.
Okay. Congratulations, Jason. Jason, are you with it? There you go.
Yeah, hi. So we're just kind of mapping out what we're planning on doing in the next several months. We're having a meeting on Monday to discuss the agenda for the next meeting on the 20th. And as soon as we have a plan put together, things will start being distributed. Matt, if I'm missing anything, please jump in and correct me.
No, I think our next working group meeting, which is in less than 2 weeks, I think is going to be pretty substantive and help us start putting things together a little more concretely.
And do you guys are you on track for a memo as well before next Thursday's meeting?
Yeah, it's
I
been
thought
produced.
Jason had done that.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's been
Sorry.
produced. Yep. I'll get a
Great.
finalized version to Haley today.
Cool. Great. All right. Some memos abound. All right. Anybody else have any concerns or thoughts on the work group progress and updates? I have to say, I'm glad. I mean, it's been nice. And probably 2-3 weeks ago, I was like, oh no, we're you know, it felt like a hard task to sort of come back from the pause, but I feel like everyone's really rising to the occasion. So that is very, very comforting. Okay, research underway. Any updates that we need to be talking about today?
I don't think so.
So either. All focused on the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have to say I was pleasantly, I've seen some good conversations happening in sort of our planning meetings, particularly with Sarah about what our research capacity is with the work group. So I think we're headed in the right direction there. I know sometimes I think superintendents are sort of used to being one very, very sort of isolated and doing all the work themselves. So I think Jeff actually spoke to that yesterday a little bit about having this capacity to do this work is sort of a little bit of a revelation he has to get used to. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad to see that revelation happening, that we have that capacity. So we'll just keep pushing. Any other thought?
Oh, this is unrelated, but it was just Superintendent Jones emailed me and said that he's getting surgery on Monday. So he doesn't know if he'll be able to participate. I just thought of that because you said Superintendent Menzer, but okay. He just wanted everyone to know if he can't be there, that's why.
Right.
It's not for a lack of, yeah, I know. Hopefully it's okay.
Okay. We'll do what we got to do. Mm-hmm. Cool. And I don't know that we have any non-committee consortium members and staff on, so I don't know that we can have a public comment today, but that's okay. All right. 11:05. Anybody else have any other thoughts and concerns? If not, we'll just keep working and preparing for what we hope is a very successful meeting next Thursday. Awesome.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later. Have a great weekend.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.